Our food choices are often difficult to change. With individual motivations such as taste, cost, and food preferences, it is difficult to see the light at the end of the food sustainability tunnel. How then can we encourage people to adopt more sustainable food choices? Well, you will actually be pleased to know that there are many people who hold positive attitudes towards sustainable food and are working on making food waste a thing of the past. So thank you for joining us today in this important YFS 2022 panel discussion as we examine the ways that you can change some of your food choices by implementing small yet effective initiatives. By altering our food consumption patterns, we can help reduce global hunger and ultimately form more sustainable habits to preserve ourselves and our environment in Switzerland. Welcome everyone to our panel on sustainable food, UN Sustainability Goal 12, Responsible Consumption and Production. Thank you all for joining us today. I'm Emma, an 11th grade student who has been with the YFS team for the past 2 years. Today I will be your MC. It is our great pleasure to welcome 3 leading experts from Switzerland on our topic, Andi Hanke, Lisa Halter, and Zoe Turcott. Let's welcome our first speaker, Andi Hanke, a food and climate shaper who has worked as a head chef for the past 20 years at Bad Babette in Zurich, Switzerland. However, now he is also running workshops and other initiatives that help encourage the future generations to make sustainable choices.
Hello everybody, happy to be part of it.
Next, let's welcome our second speaker, Lisa Halter, who works for the City of Zurich to advocate their main goals to reduce food waste whilst maintaining a balanced diet with more sustainable food choices. The City of Zurich is ultimately trying to set an example and inform all about what little initiatives they can take to make our small corner of the world a better place.
Hi everybody, thank you for having me with you today.
And last but not least, Zoe Turcott, who works at the Migros Genossenschaft organization, a group promoting more sustainable options and initiatives for the Migros supermarkets, such as the implementation of Too Good To Go services and communication campaigns to shoppers and individuals alike.
Hi everyone, thanks for having me.
I would now like to hand it over to Elise, who is managing our call and collecting questions today.
Thanks, Emma. I'm Elise, and I'll be the tech facilitator for this morning's panel. We have about 45 minutes together, during which time we will engage you in a conversation with our 3 experts and also provide some time for your questions. This year, to allow for this interactive conversation online, we are going to be using Mentimeter. And we'd like you to go to menti.com and use the following code displayed on the top of the screen, or scan the QR code shown on the right with your device. Here you can submit your questions throughout the sessions, which we will then have a chance to ask to our speakers at the end of the panel. Now I'd like to hand it off to Taylor.
Thanks, Elise. I'm Taylor and your grade 11 moderator today. It's my great pleasure to welcome everyone to this YFS panel. During today's discussion, we will start on a more macro level and then narrow our focus onto more of a local scale. The first question is to all the panelists. How do you think Switzerland is currently doing in terms of food sustainability? Lisa, why don't you kick us off?
Thank you. I think not too bad. Meat consumption has dropped in the last 10 years. We have a national campaign against food waste, and Corona has boosted the demand for healthy food and labeled products. So if we can strengthen these impulses, we are on the right track.
Thank you. Do any of the other panelists have anything to say to this question?
Yeah, I jump in here as well. I totally agree with Lisa. From my perspective, like in Zurich and around Zurich, it's so nice to see how many small initiatives like take off. We have like so many cool people doing so many nice projects. It's just a pleasure to see how the things flourish, and Corona just showed more how important is the entire food system for the soul part, but also for the nourishing part. So it's going a lot on.
Yeah, I just want to add to that. So I think, a good question is asking what's sustainable food and what's a sustainable food system. And I think it probably means a bit different things to everyone. So, is it about more like eating regional products, local products? Is it about watching out for sustainability labels or having more transparency about your choices? So I think, to this day, the only definition we have that really engulfs everyone or that everyone can agree with is that we need to have a food system today that won't compromise the ability of the next generations also to feed themselves. And so I think we were progressing a lot. Sustainability might mean something different to everyone else. For some people it's about eating less meat, less fish for ethical reasons. Others might just eat label meat only, or some even might say, I've started eating meat 6 times a week instead of 7. Or others will really go, for a total vegan diet. So I think in that sense, everyone understands something different with it. And what I'm really pleased to see is that, in that sense, we're on the right path in Switzerland. I think a lot of us are rethinking their eating and purchasing habits. And, the discussions are going very far. And I'm also positively surprised as to, the amount of interest we get at Migros from our clients. They ask very interesting, very good questions. They ask for more information. They want more transparency. And in the end, I think it's really this type of, aware consumers, critical thinkers that are making a significant change, and leading us towards a more sustainable food system. And I'm really pleased that that's the case here. Yeah.
I agree. Thank you so much. Continuing on with you, Zoe. As Emma mentioned, you work with Migros. And so my question to you is, how much of the responsibility do you believe lies by multinational corporations, such as fast food chains and supermarkets, and how much is our responsibility as consumers?
Mm-hmm. I think there's no nice equation. I can't tell you it's 20 or 80%. I think it's really a shared responsibility between the concerned actors, be it government, private companies, consumers, scientists, NGOs. Everyone has such an important role to play. Governments, they need to even the playing field so we can actually achieve the sustainable development goals. We need innovative private companies and also NGOs, that are keeping checks and balances. And of course, we need science-based information so we can make better decisions also as consumers. So I also want to stress, how important it is that we as consumers, power lies within us. I know it sounds like a cheesy, easy answer, but, every franc you spend really sends a message. Or even the franc you don't spend sends a big message as well. So I think it's our responsibility as consumers to be informed, to question the status quo, and really decide where we want to spend our money. And obviously for that we need, honest and transparent answers, which is totally the responsibility of companies like Migros. And that's what we're trying to do, for example, with our new climate rating system, the M-Check, which should help you identify climate-friendly products. Let me just close with this remark. I believe, if a lot of us had cared more also in the past generations, if our parents, our teachers, our politicians, even me had questioned, this profit maximization above everything, we would be in a different situation today. So I can't stress enough how important it is that we ask questions and keep asking them.
That's a really interesting point. Thank you so much. Andy, moving on to you. You work and have a lot of initiatives that have to do with food sustainability. And so my question to you is, how does getting food from locally sourced places limit your abilities as a chef?
Does it really limit me? I think that's something like Zoe said, the behavior changed a lot. The times are over when strawberries are available the entire year, like asparagus. So as chefs, we have a key role between the consumers and, let's say, the producers, the farmers. We can really talk stories. We know what's on the field, what's in season, what's from the region, and what makes sense. The entire sustainability topic is so complicated. There's so many levels, as Zoe mentioned before. But it's on us to do the choices, on us chefs. So for me, it's not limiting. It's even the opposite. It makes me more creative because I'm more challenged, because there's not everything available all the time. So if I write a menu, I don't need strawberries in winter. It doesn't make sense. I don't need an organic tomato from Spain. It doesn't make sense. So, but how do I use tomatoes in winter? I can preserve them. I can cook jams. I can dry them. I can do so many things with tomatoes in summer to be ready in the winter. So I think as chefs, and that's also very nice to see that there are so many young chefs like living this kind of philosophy to let the roots grow deeper in the soil and see what's available right now, and with the philosophy of the chef, like create something new. And that's fun. It's more fun than to use tomatoes the entire year. That's not challenging. That's not fun. And the chef is a kind of an arty profession. It's very artisan, it's handcraft, but in the end, it's also a lot of creativity, and that's just forced by limitation in the end. So you have to break out of the cage.
Thank you. I never thought about it like that. It's really interesting. And have you found that due to your sustainability initiatives, your restaurant has become more recognized?
I would say so, because the entire sustainability, organic, whatsoever, climate topics, they're like as popular at the moment as never before. And again, chefs or gastronomy has a kind of key role, because a lot of CO2 is produced in farming. So me as a restaurant, which is very conscious about this topic and kind of celebrates the season, the regional, the small scale food system, I celebrate my producers, and that actually sharpens my profile in a kind of trend movement at the moment. So for me, it's actually good to be positioned like that, because the new generations, or some guests, even more in cities, they are looking for restaurants which are working sustainable, social, etc., etc. So, and I can serve that kind of niche at the moment. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much. Lisa, what are some foods that should be avoided kind of to reduce our carbon footprint?
If you ask me that direct, we should consume less animal products, not only for the environment, but also for our health. So a change in diet is therefore doubly worthwhile. And we need to reduce our food losses. That's the second biggest lever for the environment. 1/3 of the food in Switzerland ends up in waste, and households play a significant role in this. On average, a Swiss household has the potential to save 600 francs a year through food saving.
Thank you so much. And how do we know if the food that we buy is ethically and sustainably produced? I think you mentioned before that, or was it Zoe, that this has become easier to recognize?
Yes, there are various solutions for buying sustainable products. In the retail trade, label products health with orientation, like fair trade, organic, or IP Swiss. But there are also many initiatives, Andy mentioned before as well, and companies that allow us to buy transparently and directly from the producer all over the world, such as Gebana or Crowd Container. And in our region, we have the opportunity to visit a farm or to become part of a solidarity-based agriculture. But it's very important, if we talk about sustainably produced products, we often talk about spending more money for food. And therefore, we must implement the measure buying sustainable products in conjunction with the two points before, food safe and dietary style. Because in these 2 points, we save money that we can spend again on those label products. So if we talk about ethics in sustainable food, sustainable nutrition must not be a diet for the rich. All people should be able to afford a sustainable diet. And it is possible if we take all the 3 levers that we have together.
Thank you so much. Okay, so now I would love to know kind of about some of the initiatives that all of you are working on. I know that you have quite a few. And kind of what are some of the biggest challenges that you've come across while trying to improve consumption or production patterns in Switzerland over the years? Zoe, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. So I think I've already mentioned it before. Food sustainability is a complex issue, and I don't know if we know today how we can go about in solving all of it. So I think one of the biggest challenges is food sustainability being complex and actually finding, good solutions that will really address the problem. And I think, a lot of the times we're confronted with conflicting goals, or we have to make trade-offs, which means, for example, as a retailer, Migros looks at how we can eliminate, or if we should eliminate packaging, even maybe plastic packaging, but knowing that packaging actually protects your food and your products, if you eliminate it, it might actually create more food waste, more food losses, which has a much worse impact on the environment. So there are these different trade-offs that we have to do, and I think we live, in a global interconnected world. So there are always unexpected side effects that might emerge from, one single choice or something that you do on a small scale. Sometimes these effects can be quite positive, and sometimes you just don't know if they're going to really solve your problem. So another big challenge also about, food being such a complex system is actually how to inform, people around me or even our clients always, and also, as simply as possible, especially because, the answers should actually be very nuanced and complex. And we all know, the devil lies in the details. So my advice to you would also, beware of people in companies who tell you, this will help save the planet with this one simple trick. Like it's. I wish it were that easy, but it's not. But of course, there is some good advice, which also Lisa just presented. Eating less meat is known to have a good impact on the environment. Not consuming flown-in products, for example, those that were transported by air. So there are different solutions, and I don't think there's one that will help solve it all. So yeah, I think communication is a different thing because it's such a complex issue.
I would jump in here as well. We always speak about how complex the things are, and it's so hard, everything. But my approach is it's just food. We love to eat, all of us. We enjoy eating, and we know already so many things. Even the younger generation, you have the information. You know what is needed, I'm sure. And it's just cooking, but it's the small start, the individual start, which is important. So go on the farmers' markets, talk to the farmers, build a connection, start a dialogue, connect with them. Then you can talk about packaging, about sourcing, and then maybe you cook one time a week at home, because who's able to cook anymore? We speak about consumption, etc., but most of the food we eat out. We have takeaways, we eat fast food, even we know it's not healthy. But if we just start to step back, listen to yourself a little bit, go out and do the right thing, and then you start somewhere else. You start with organic, you start with awareness about the meat products or like vegan food or bread or whatsoever. And then, if you start somewhere, it leads you automatically into this complex situation. And then, we cannot solve it with one solution. But if you start to dive in this matter, then it automatically leads you somewhere and it takes you deeper and deeper. And just remember, it's fun to eat. It's very yummy. It's very nourishing, and we know what's good for our body. It might not be meat every day or highly processed foods. So I just want to say, start to cook again or continue cooking and just make sure that you know who's producing your food, what's the name behind, what's the label behind, or even maybe the farmer. And farmers are really cool and nice guys, and we all live next to the countryside. Go out, explore, reconnect from the soil to the product, and then just make yummy food with friends. It's very easy.
Thanks for adding, Andy. I totally agree with you. I didn't want to scare everyone off with the complexity of the thing, but as you say, baby steps, small steps, taking an interest is definitely the way to go.
Lisa, what challenges have you come across?
I don't want to be the party crasher. I'm also very into this positivity of just doing it. What I can see right now, a challenge I'm faced to, is the gastronomy. The catering industry is responsible for a considerable share of food consumption. Sales are similar to those in the retail trade and even higher for environmentally relevant needs. On average, 40% of Swiss people eat out every day. This means that the catering industry has a great responsibility on the way to a sustainable diet. And in order to do justice to this, new skills are needed. And that's a long way off. Thanks to Andy, we have a pioneer among us who shows us in a very positive way that it's possible. But for so many other chefs, it is a long way to go, and that will take some time and inspiration.
Thank you. Sorry. Andy, do you believe that farmers play a role in food sustainability? I know you briefly touched on it, but what can they help do, kind of?
Yeah, good point. Farmers are crucial. They are producing our food. I've just been 2 days ago on a farm working with them, and it's tough. It's like early morning. It's cold in the fields. It's a lot of work by hands. It's not fun so much, but the farmers really love their job. Mostly like the small scale farmers, which don't have huge farms, and sadly, farmers should be the new rock stars of the scene because they are doing the main work. And what they are a bit missing is the access to the markets, like directly to the consumers, because they have like deals with big grocery shops, or they don't have the real contact with the consumer. But also there are a lot of the new generation farmers just jump into that. They are now on Instagram. They go to farmers markets. They use other platforms to communicate with their consumers, and that's great to see. But that's just our local market, and we in Switzerland we don't produce enough food for everybody. Okay, maybe we would, but we throw away too much. And there's not just farmers which are producing vegetables and grains. It's also like fisher, like meat farmers, and all the producers doing the high processed food. So it's the entire value chain, which is like super complex. But in the end, it's again just fun to reconnect with the soil and the farm. And the farmers is just like very wide open with their arms to welcome, I think, consumers on their fields or on their homepage or on books. There are so many books about healthy soil, about permacultures, new forms of circular economy, which farms includes as well. So farmers should be the new rock stars, and we should celebrate them and be thankful for what they do, because it's not an easy job.
I agree. Thank you so much. A quick question for Zoe. Earlier on, I think Emma touched upon the fact that Migros has started to implement Too Good To Go services. How do you think this process has worked so far? Is it effective?
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing. So, of course, how do we tackle food waste? There are different ways to go at it. Let's just go from the retailer perspective. Of course, it's about trying to buy as much as possible, but not too much. So everything gets sold in our stores. That's not possible. We see that there are products that can't be sold before the end of the day. You put them at a reduced price, or you maybe give them to gastronomy. So we actually have our Migros restaurants that use some foods that would have not been sold in the supermarkets. Then we, of course, have our work together with Too Good To Go, which is great. There is a lot of positive response, and then the numbers are, we've done some reporting, some statistics. We see that it's working very well. We've had it for 2 years now, and it's constantly increasing how much package we can sell through Too Good To Go. And of course, we also have the donations to charitable organizations. So we actually donate foods, so we can also help tackle food waste at the same time as fight poverty. And I think it's a play of all these different solutions that help us reduce food waste in the retail sector. But we've also come to realize that it's not the biggest sector along the value chain. There's an immense amount of food waste already at the farmers, because some of their products do not concord with the norms. I think Lisa also mentioned there's food waste in gastronomy. There's also food waste in food production, so industrial companies. So you can be very conscious when you walk into a supermarket or you feel like there's a lot of food waste there, but also remember that a lot happens in our homes, actually in our kitchens. So be really mindful about that, because we don't want to produce food that no one's going to eat in the end.
I agree, Zoe. So I know each of you have touched upon this subject already, but my last question to all of you today, each of you can answer, what are some small steps that individuals in or out of our community can take to promote an ideal future in terms of food sustainability and consumption?
I can start again.
It's going.
Andy mentioned it before, it's about the step-by-step approach. In my case, I've been, climate aware since primary school. I don't think I remember a time where climate issues weren't a topic in my life. And I always really felt this sense of urgency and, thought it was always about radical changes. But I've come to realize for myself that I just couldn't do it. Like, we all know how difficult it is actually to develop new habits, and it can be scary if you want to go at it in one go, So it really takes time and practice. Like, I think you have to be kind to yourself and go at it bit by bit. So I would say, for example, in your cafeteria, just have a look at your menus. Like, do you have different options? Can you have a vegetarian, a vegan menu? Can you choose how big your portion size are to make sure that you don't have food waste, or food at the end of your plate that you didn't eat? Look at your soup. I don't know, maybe ask, is it vegetable scraps from yesterday that I have actually been made into a soup? Just have a look around and ask yourself questions. I think I grew up in a big city. I pretty much thought that food grew in supermarkets. I wish it was a joke, but it's not. Go around. Do you know how a broccoli plant looks like? If you buy pepper, ask yourself, do I know how pepper grows? How do we harvest cranberries? Like, we love them, but yeah, where do they grow, and where does cacao and coffee grow? So I think, you should be curious about food, and if you are, then you'll acquire also the knowledge that's necessary to make up your mind about what you want to encourage. So yeah, I started small. I started with a tomato plant in my garden, and I came to realize the amount of care and sun and water and everything it needed, and that made me appreciate the effort that goes into it so much more. So I think in the end, it's about becoming conscious about your habits, the impact they have on the people and planet, and then try to make or take informed decisions. And we have to, because we see food in our daily lives. We have to make food-related choices every day. So I think it's really worth the effort to start asking yourself questions. And then don't stop at food, take that and apply it to other things in your life. How do you go around? What's your transportation? About your clothes, can you buy less? Can you buy secondhand? That's a hugely important topic as well. So take that curiosity about food and then try to apply it to different parts of your life.
Wonderful. You should write a book for solutions. Yeah, actually, I cannot add so much. Each franc you spend, you decide which kind of system you support. And, I don't think Walmart cares about, your 2 francs not spent at Walmart, but maybe the small scale producer cares about your 2 francs you give to him. So always reflect and rethink your decision, where your money goes, and who appreciates your money, and what kind of system it supports. And education is key for me, so that the informations are all out. They're like apps, there are tools which can guide you through seasonal vegetables, through recipes, through healthy food. So there's there are like plenty of solutions around us. Just grab them and start. And just wanted to add from before, like we said, what's part of politics? Go to vote, be part of the conversation, and that is forcing, an energy towards, you create the world you want to through your actions. And step by step.
So there is not much to add. I would like to quote Andy, just do it. The world is full of opportunities and solutions. A small step can be listening to podcasts on sustainability topics that interest you, going to the weekly market, getting involved in your neighborhood against food waste, trying out plant-based recipes, anything you find in there that makes you happy, more of it. And if you don't like cappuccino with oat milk, just don't have it. Sustainability is a way, not a state.
Thank you all so much for your input. That is all of my questions for today. Thank you for your insightful comments. Now I'll hand it over to Elise for some audience questions.
Thank you, Taylor, and thank you all the speakers for your answers so far. It's been very insightful. There's one last chance for people who want to send in photos. You can use the code here or scan the QR code on the right. And then in a second, we're going to get started with the first question that was already sent in. I think this one can be directed to Andy, our chef. What are some example meals that we as students can make at home that are both sustainable and affordable for us students? I think you're still muted.
Right here. So, good question. So, if you're like into cooking, soups is a very easy and manageable start, with soups, like there are thousands of different soups, which you can also cook with like local ingredients. They are easy to cook, they are very nourishing, and they make a lot of sense, because you can use like leftovers from the day before or whatsoever. So soups are easy, salads are easy, potato dishes, gratins, like souffle, don't know the English word for that, like this gratin. So there are a lot of easy recipes, and again, also online you really find a lot of things for that.
Okay, thank you. Our next question is, are people willing to pay for sustainability in terms of food? Because, getting more locally can be more pricey. And like in a country such as Switzerland, which is developed, it may be like easier. But like in developing countries, are people like willing to pay for this?
I'm not sure whether they have to pay for it, because in Switzerland, 1/4 of our food costs are paid for meats. And if we take the biggest impact on the environment, less meat, so we maybe instead of 1/4, we just spend half of it on meat. The money we save, we can invest in sustainable products. So, and if we get there that we have less food waste, there is no reason why we should spend more money for sustainable nutrition.
Does Zoe have anything to add to that? Or?
Yeah, I can't speak for those countries. I've never lived there. I can just say, a general observation of mine is that some people are basically not willing to pay a lot for food, whatever, and just reach for the cheapest product. I think that's a very legitimate thing, and I think these people may just not value food as much and would rather have more money to spend on other things. Your Netflix account and your electronic devices, and yeah. So I think it's also about how much you prioritize food expenses in your global budget, and then I think it's more and more known that it's not true that a sustainable diet has to be more expensive generally. Yeah.
If I may add something, I think there's also the great responsibility of the retailers, of the big retailers. They do already a lot. Migros is a pioneer, but I still see so much potential. Why there's the need to sell strawberries in winter and asparagus from Mexico? We know it's always a topic area, it's a topic. Then the answer is always, yeah, the consumer wants it. But where is the responsibility in the education part? I think I educate my guests. I explain them why I don't have avocado. And then if you start with water problems, with criminal structures, etc., they understand it. So I educate them. But, I'm a small restaurant, I can do it. I'm not a multi-million company. But I still think there's a lot of potential and a lot of responsibility also just to be more straight, to cut off things. Why the bread section is full till 8 o'clock. Of course, there's food waste. There's a lot of work going on, but I think that still can be done so much. And then you also reach out to the people which care less. The special offers, like 10 yogurts for like half of the price. Who needs that? And if there are not these sorts of offers or like of misleading situations, you can also educate consumers which are not so much into this topic or into this bubble. So I would love to see more action towards like consequent cuts.
I totally agree, and I think in that respect, Migros in some parts is doing, as you said, like pioneer work. In others, I really believe, we're close to the end of flown-in or, products that have been transported by air. I think we know how bad the impact is on the environment, and I don't think it's legitimate to do that forever. So I think for me, it's a matter of time until we stop doing that. Let's see how many years and in how many years that happens. And I also totally agree it's about education. I think people who are against eating the Spain-produced strawberries in winter, they don't. We offer so many other products at the same time. So people who don't want to reduce, they can totally reach out for other products. And people who really kind of don't want to forego strawberries, then we offer them the most sustainable option that we have. Personally, I don't buy them, but yeah, I think it goes both ways. So it's definitely people still buying them in winter, and Migros actually having some products that are less sustainable on its shelves. And I really believe that with the new MCheck, when we get a 1-star rating on a product, it's in our own interest to actually better that product and make it more sustainable, because we don't want just 1-star products, we want 5-star products. So I think that's been a huge, a very important instrument actually in having better products in our stores. But I agree, there's still a way to go. Yeah.
Thank you. I think we have time for one last question, so this can be a rounding off question. What do you think the future of food sustainability can look like, and what factors do you think will have the greatest influence on the future? And I think we can hand this off to Lisa first.
Thank you. So the last trend report for future food just has been published this week, and it's plant-based food. That will be the next trend, and we can see it already with the January and also the restaurants. We can see it with Daniel Humm in New York. One of the world's best chefs decided to go plant-based, and that will be one part of it. And on the other side, health became much more important due to Corona, and that goes together hand in hand. So that's what we will focus on the next years.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to have any last word before we close off the panel?
Yeah, me just quickly. I believe in an inclusive food system which provides food for everybody of us globally, because we produce enough food for everybody. The system is just wrong. The key to divide the food is just wrong. But I think we have the tools, and we have also the urge to it. The planet is on fire. Food system farming is crucial. Transport of food. So food is a big key to that, to solve this thing. And it's also yummy again. And it could solve a lot of conflicts and stop a lot of war if we just would have a healthier, more sustainable food system. And I'm really believing that we will achieve that. I hope.
I'm optimistic as well. I think we're on that track. I think there is going to be, different trends. Some will stay, some won't last. But I think every one of us trying to do their best is going to have the biggest impact.
Okay, thank you so much, speakers.
Thank you.
I'd like to now hand it off to Emma for the final word.
So I'm afraid that's the end of our session with our guests today. Thank you everyone for listening and sending in your questions, and thank you to our wonderful speakers for sharing their knowledge, experience, and ideas. For all ISTEL students, please remain in your period 2 class. Everyone else, I hope you enjoyed the rest of the YFS day, and we encourage you to join another one of our panels at 2:45 p.m. Thank you so much.